Bang, Neeves Knives. I'm Jared. My lovely wife Kara is not with us. This knife was sent to us by our homie Nice Edc, who's always been really good to us, and we became really good friends with the guy. We love the guy, and he sent us a whole bunch of cool knives, including a Shirogorov Neon, which this is my first time ever handling a Shirogorov. This is a Russian-made knife, and let's get into the good and bad of this bad boy. Okay, here is some size comparisons really quick. Here is the Kershaw bare knuckle. You see it's smaller than the Kershaw bare knuckle. This knife is just under 7.5 inches with a blade length that is almost 3¼ inches long. Here is the Benchmade bug out, which is relatively about the same size. These two are very, very similar in size, as you can see. So you can see this is a very Edc seeable knife, and I really enjoyed getting to use, carry, and sharpen this knife. He did allow me to carry, use, and sharpen it, which is so awesome. I love that. And I have to mention that this thing has been gone over and redone. This is not the stock finish that was on this knife. So I'm going to show you some pictures really quick. Also, I want you to look right here in the pictures that I'm going to show you. Look right in here. You'll see that this has been modified just a little tiny bit. A sharpening choil was put in there, but it was definitely put in there very professionally. And it looks very, very, very well done. Everything's nice and even, and absolutely no complaints with the way the sharpening choil was put in. So here's the pictures. So you'll notice they had a DLC coating put on it. The titanium was re-anodized to this this grayish bronze anal finish that looks really nice and even. And then also the sharpening tool was put in it. So for the rest of this video, you know, just know that I am reviewing this as it is now and not for what it was. And let's get to the action. So the action, the detent's not really strong. It's actually a light detent I can easily fail, but also I can easily deploy it no matter what, reliably. And I can literally just pinch it like this, and bink, it's so easy to open. And closing it, stupid smooth. I mean, ridiculously smooth. And that's not a heavy blade. One reason why this thing is super smooth, or as smooth as it is because it has ceramic multi-row bearings on the pivot and a ceramic detent ball. So this thing is kind of fun to fidget with. The action is amazing. And also what I found out is you can easily middle finger flick this knife. And I mean very easily. Like, it's so easy because of the ridge right here. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Because of this little ridge right there, you just put your finger right behind it and bang. It's super easy. Very easy. I can thumb flick it too if I really want to. I can slow roll it out with my thumb, or I can easily thumb flick it. But I don't like to thumb flick it as easy because the middle finger flick is so easy, but you can also deploy it like that. The detent is a little later than I would think. It's actually right there, but you can easily unlock it, hit your finger, and drop it. But it is pretty close to the detent ball. Detent ball is right before there, so it's right there. But when you unlock it, look how much farther it is. It's right there. So as soon as it gets right there, very easy to drop. Now, also, when it hits the detent ball, you can easily push past it. It almost feels like it has a detent ball ramp. Does it? I don't know. I just know the lock bar is very smooth to unlock. I don't think it has a detent ball ramp. I just think the lock bar is very easy to disengage, and they leave you plenty of room. So it's a joy to open and close. It does have an over travel thing, so you can't over travel the lock bar, which is really cool. And you see they got, you know, the hardware. You basically just use flathead screwdrivers to take it apart, put it back together. There is this jimping right back there, it's irrelevant. So we'll get back to that in a second. Now, sharpening this thing. This thing is S30V. The heat treat seems like it's done very, very well. The grind is done so perfect on this thing. I mean, the symmetry, like the grinding from one side to the other, matches up perfectly. Sharpening this thing, I enjoyed sharpening this. It was a dream to sharpen. Matching up the bevels from one side to the other was incredibly easy. It took a really good edge. Now, I was kind of like on the fence, like, man, this thing kind of deserves a mirror polish finish, right? I should put a mirror on it. But I asked him, you know, what kind of finish do you want? What kind of edge do you want? And he said, do whatever you think. And I felt like the edge that was originally on it was a little too laid back. Yes, that's going to go through materials a little bit easier, but it didn't need to be as laid back as it was. I feel like it made it a little more weaker than the edge I could put on it. So I raised the angle of the bevel. So basically the edge is going to be a little bit smaller, which yes, it doesn't mean it's going to pass through materials as easy. But I measured this thing at, I only measured one spot, about 15 thousandths behind the edge. So it has great blade geometry. So I put 1,000 grit finish on there, so I didn't put a mirror finish on there. But if he wants a mirror finish on there, I have no problem doing it. If he wants the edge laid back, I'll have no problem doing it. But this is a great working edge for this knife. And especially if this is going to be a user, then this is the type of finish you really want on it. It looks great. It's very symmetrical. And you can choke up right there if you want to, very easily. And the grinds to the tip. The tip is a really nice, precise tip that you can use very easily. You can hold it in so many ways, and you know, you can really use this as a nice EDC knife. It's a great, great EDC knife. I really do like this thing. I like the way they refinished it. Originally, it was about $400, and then there was a couple $100 in work put into it. So it definitely looks professional, and I like that. Now, things I don't like about the knife. Oh yeah, let me get to the clip really quick. The clip works really well. It's got a nice ramping, goes in and out of your pocket very well. There's no complaints about this clip. I mean, it doesn't have a ton of room underneath it, but I never had no problems with jeans. It does have a hidden lanyard hole, and you see the bear down there, the bear. Okay, so the things I don't like about this knife. Well, it has kind of early lockup, but it's solid as a rock. And the pivot kind of keeps coming unloose. I could have just put some Loctite in there. That's not a big deal. That kind of says that it has such tight tolerances that it's loosening up, which I don't think it'll keep loosening up. I just didn't want, because I have to let it sit for 48 hours, right? And I was carrying this thing and enjoying it. And so now I'm going to put it on after the review, and I don't think there'll be any issues with it. There's not very much to dislike about this knife. It's just a great EDC knife altogether. And anything I bitch about, I'm going to be nitpicking, so I might as well save it, right? And then you're thinking like, well, you got to come up with something bad, right? You got to come up with something. Well, the detent could be a little more stronger, as it is kind of soft. So if I was going to bitch about anything, it'd be that. But it's so easy to flip, and it flips so reliably. Like, I can do the light switch easily. I can do a push button very easily. So how can I bitch about that? It's perfectly centered. No issues there. The tolerances are so tight and nice. Like I said, it does come loose without Loctite, but most knives do. So let's be real, not a big deal. But yeah, I really can't come up with too much bad about it. It's just a great EDC knife, and the blade geometry is so good. Took a really good edge. And the difference between sharpening, I've sharpened a lot of S30V, and S30V takes a really good edge, but in my opinion, this is my opinion, a lot of S30V gets really sticky, right? It takes a good edge and gets sticky, but it loses it really fast. So like after you use it once or twice, or even just run your finger up and down it a bunch of times, the stickiness kind of goes away. It's like the teeth kind of go, and this is just my opinion and what's happened to me with the S30V. This seemed like it sharpened up so easily and so good. It seemed like the HRC is either really good, or maybe just the heat treating process was done really well. And yeah, it's a great knife, man. Let's if I had to compare it to any other knife, it's kind of hard to compare to anything. You know, it's kind of unique, even though it's a straightforward knife. Maybe the ZT-0450 is a similar. I mean, but the blade geometry is nowhere near the same. ZT-0450 definitely doesn't have nowhere near the blade geometry as this. This is far better. But there's not many knives I can really compare it to and it actually be similar, even though this is such a straightforward knife. It just is a great knife. And I think that's the beauty in what sells in this knife, is just that it is a straightforward knife, good blade geometry, great blade shape, good ergos. There's nothing crazy about it aside from just it being good. And you know, everything's symmetrical. The fit and finish is amazing. The action is stupid good. So yeah, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully this answered any questions if you had anything to know about the Neon. Bang.